Yes, now let us start with the important administrative commands one by one. And let us try to demonstrate. I will try because some of the commands also may work in my laptop. I will try to demonstrate it along with the explanations. Now, the first command, the first point to discuss is about a root user, ROOT. Okay, root in lowercase. Generally, if root user account is enabled, one can log in with the root also from the command line. Okay, so generally for that you may have to sometimes we switch user identity to the actually SU is switch user. So then you may have to enter. Now actually I already logged in as my normal user account. So but if you log in with your user credentials, this will be your location. Now you can also notice the user name here, root. So root username will be root, ROOT, then enter the password, then you will get a command prompt. And now the moment you log in something like this, note some important changes happening in your desktop in the command. The first one is your username and also the command prompt. Command prompt is changed to hash. That tells that you are now under super user mode. Whatever you do can affect entire system now. That's why it is always advised not to work in root user unless it is absolutely necessary, because any small mistake may screw up your entire Linux operating system and your valuable data. So anyway, to issue some important administrative commands, then you can go for and log in to root user. That's why to discourage people from logging in unnecessarily, Ubuntu has got its own standard. It is very interesting there. In that, root user by default, they will deactivate. Actually, Ubuntu operating system follows that principle. And during the installation, whatever the user account you're going to create, that is considered as administrator's personal account. Okay, administrator's personal account. Within that administrator's personal account, administrator can get super user privilege by typing sudo, sudo. Okay. So, and after that, the moment you type sudo and then some commands, that command will work under super user privilege. In fact, this sudo permission can be granted to more than one user also. That is also possible. In case if you want your operating system or a server to be administered by different people, you can give sudo permission to multiple users, and that means that they can become ad hoc super users in the system. So that's why you should be very careful whenever you are going to, particularly users of Ubuntu operating system, whenever you want to create multiple users, you have to decide whether to give sudo permission or not to others, because by mistake, if they issue some very sensitive commands, your system may go down also. So anyway, so Ubuntu normal that user account users can get administrative privilege by sudo typing sudo sudo and then issue the command. That is the one way. And also it is possible to activate the root user account. That's also possible. In case if you want it absolutely a separate user account for administrator, like in Debian, Debian root is enabled by default. It is available. So in Ubuntu also you can do the same. Now what? So after logging in, then you are going to get this kind of interface. So this is one of the point you need to remember. And now look into so how to go back from this, because now I logged in as a normal user and acquired super user privilege using su command. If you want to go out of it, you can say, sorry, exit, not logout. Here logout will not work because I created a subshell. Under the subshell, I am going to work here with the super user privilege. So if you want to go out of this administrative privilege, just type exit. Now look into the username. So you are going to get a normal user account. And advantage of this user account, this normal user account is that SU, actually it is not a super user, it is switch user. In case if you know any other user's user password, you can log in to his user account also. Say for example, I have another username here. So I can say SU hyphen, then I can try to log into separate username called Manu. Then so Manu is a separate username, then Manmohan in my system. I am going to get access to user account to Manu, another user in this computer. So now whatever I am going to do here, I am going to do it as user Manu. Here you can use the logout. If you log in using su command, you can say logout to come out and come back to your original user ID. The moment you log in with the particular username, you can impersonate him. Whatever you are going to do, that you are going to do with on behalf of that user. Next, the point is, okay, come back to the administrator. Okay, here I just mentioned how to log in. And also note one difference here. If I type SU and another user's name, then if I enter that another user's password, I will be in my own home directory. Now look into present working directory here. I am still at user ID Manmohan, my regular user ID. So whatever the file I am going to create, I am going to create it in my own logged in user ID. So here also you can say logout. Sorry. There I used SU. Okay, remember you have to say exit here. But if you log in, remember that log in with the SU and a hyphen mark. Then if you write user ID, now look into this. Now your present working directory is that new user's working directory. It is no longer home/Manmohan, it is home/Manu. This is what the user ID. Okay, you logged in as a regular user Manu from another user ID Manmohan. So these are the points you need to remember. Anyway, this is about how to log in to other users if you know the password. And two different options, SU without hyphen and SU with the hyphen, what happens and what. So now you will get privilege of new user Manu, and whatever you are going to do is very much equal to user Manu is doing it. not user Manmohan. Okay. So this is about some simple tips on that, about how to change the commands, etc. Now, what an administrator can do in a Linux operating system? What is the privilege? Okay, super user has got enormous powers, and any command invoked by him has a greater chance of success than issued by others, because he will get all the powers: execution power, reading, writing, deleting, etc. Command may also behave differently or be reserved for his exclusive use. Super user authority is mainly derived from the power to, say, for example, change the content or attributes of any files. Okay, he can change file permissions, he can change ownership of a file, he can delete any files, and even if the directory is write protected, super user can delete it. Okay, that is what you can override permissions of the file. If as a normal user protected his file by without giving read, write access, etc., super user can access it and he can do whatever he wants in that particular files. And user can super user can also initiate some processes, some new processes, background processes, and he can terminate some processes also. He can stop it. And also the administrator can change anybody's password. If you log in as a super user, you can modify anybody's password in your computer system, and he can modify date commands. He can send messages to different users using val command. Okay, val is a command, val, and write a username. It's very interesting. Say, for example, you can type a val, then you can send a message to any normal user. Okay, how to do that? What is the use? That you will study it later. Now the next point is about what super user can do. Let me get one super user privilege now. Now also look into this. I obtained super user super user privilege by mentioning su command, but I didn't mention hyphen. That's why I'm still at my personal user account. Okay, in my personal user account, I am there. So if you want to change to the your root user's home folder, you can do like this. Simply say cd and press enter. cd without any arguments, press enter. You will be in personal folder. So in case if you issue a command with su switch user hyphen, then if you enter supervisor's password, then you will be directly logging in into root user's home directory. No need to write cd to go there. Okay, this is the change. And another way of doing the things is you can also try with the su hyphen, then you can write root, switch user to the root. This is also fine. Su hyphen and a username. Username of the root user is root. If any other user's account, if you want to log in, you have to write that user's user ID. Okay. Now look into some important commands, like if you want to change the date, how we can change the, now if you say date here, now it says today it is October 1st and 9:57 is the time. So now in case if I want to change the date, then I can say date. Then after that, I can write month first, that is October 1st, October 1st. Then I can write date. Then I can write 2020. Okay, this is also we can write, or else you can change the date to any. Okay, you can change the date, etc. Or date and time. Now year is also changed here. Notice that the time is changed here. Now, sorry, first of all, the format is first of all month. Now assume that I want to set it to January 01 01 20. Now to 2020 will become time actually. Now actually after this time 0101, then I can set the time. Now assume that I want to set it to 8 a.m. hour and 8 o'clock, 8:15 morning. See, I changed the time. I changed the date also. Super user can change the date. Also notice that change will immediately if I come into effect. You can look into actually this bottom of the screen if you can see it in the graphics mode in the title in the bar here. Look into that Wednesday, January 1st, 8:15 is displayed. Okay, this is how system administrators can change the time. So if you want to set the things right, then you have to write date command. Then month is 10, today October 1st. Then today's time, exactly it may be, for example, it is 9:59 now. I can set it right in this way. Look into the way in which you are going to enter the time, set the time and format. Although there is a connection issue. One second. Please wait, there is a network problem here. My PC got disconnected. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Screen share is
Yeah.
not visible.
But the PC got disconnected, right? Can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, let me continue with that. So this is about how to set the time. So date, then month, date, hour, minute. That is the format. Okay. Say date, then month. The first two digits will be month. The next two digits are date, and next two digits are hours, and last two digits are minutes. So you can set date and time in this particular way in the computer. So another command I can issue is, okay, let me try in this way. Okay. I will open one more terminal window. Now look into this second terminal window where I am with my normal user ID. I can issue now the background screen is root user. I typed val there. Okay, it is the val command addresses all users simultaneously. I may send w val, then I say some message to all users. And you can type some message. And this message, if it is permitted to send the message, then at the end you have to type Control D. This message will be received by all other users in the computer system in their terminal mode. Let me try this, whether it works or not, I will confirm it, because that depends upon my system setting also, whether to allow val permission or not. Yeah, it is disabled in my system, in my laptop. Generally, you can set a system administrator in case if you want to communicate with the all users simultaneously. He can set the things correctly by mentioning, say, val command. Then after that, he can send any message. Welcome. Today machine will be shut down from such and such time for maintenance purpose, etc. At the end of the message, he has to type Control D to terminate end of the message. Then this message is supposed to go to other users. All users currently logged in will receive this message on their terminal. Okay, you can execute this command whenever you want to communicate with the other users in the system. Particularly, this is very useful in a server. If say in a college server, faculty can give a message that all students need to take a backup. This machine is going to shut down now or after 5 minutes, etc. Such a message can be sent with the val command. Try this in your system also. That depends upon configuration. You can enable this system and command, and you can work with that. And then another command that is very important is about password command. Say password command, as a normal user also, if you type this password commands, command to change the password is passwd. A normal user, you also can change your own password. The moment you say password, say it says changing the password for Manmohan, then you need to enter current password. So I will enter my current password. Then it may say new password. It will tell you to enter password twice, because now I entered same password, so it will not change the passwords. Okay. In case if you want to change the password, you can change it by entering the passwords. And also note that in some systems, okay, when administrator created a password, it may be very simple password. So I gave a very simple password to this particular user account because every time I want to log in to do my regular work in the computer, I gave a simple password. Now, in case if you want to give a complicated password, assuming that your PC may be accessed by anybody in your absence, then you can give a very good password also. So that's why some computer systems, Linux systems generally sometimes may impose some restrictions on the password. When I say restriction, it may mandate that one letter, at least one character should be capital letter. There should be at least one special character and at least one number, etc., etc. There may be some conditions by default. Or else in a server system, you can also impose some conditions on the password also. That is also possible. As administrator, you can mandate that every password must have minimum this many number of characters, etc. That also can be done. Anyway, now as a starting point, you should know how to change the password. Okay. Now with the password command, you can change your password. Because I logged in as a user Manmohan here, and I can change my own password by writing PASSWD. I will not be able to change another user's password. If there is another user here, I can change his password. I can change my password, but administrator can change anybody's password. That is very important. As a administrator can change anybody's password. Now, to change any user's password, the format is that he has to type password, then username. Now, user is root. If you want to change the password of one user called Manu, then he has to enter this. Then immediately it will ask new password. It will not ask, remember, notice here. When you try to change your password as a normal user, it will tell you to enter your current password. But if you are an administrator of the system, it will not ask. It's not going to ask your current password. Without asking the old password, administrator can change anybody's password now. If my administrator want to change my user password, he can directly change it without my permission because it will not ask the current password. Directly it asks what will be the new password, enter it. So this is the most important point to remember whenever you are working with this kind of commands. So in case if you make some mistakes, it will say that, sorry, passwords do not match, authentication token manipulation error, password is unchanged, etc. Sometimes there may be some conditions on the password also, as I said before. Number of characters should be at least 8, one should be capital letter, one should be number, and one special character, etc. In that case also, if you are not going to meet that standards in your system, it may give some kind of errors here. The password is too simple, change your password, re-enter your new password. This type of prompts you're going to get. Now, look into another important feature here, that's about this set user ID. As I said, there are some special permissions for the files sometimes. One is called SUID. Now let me demonstrate you with the, say for example, if I type ls-l, see, this is a password file. Okay. In the computer, within the /user/bin, there is a file called PASSWD. This is called password file. So you are going to get permissions of that particular password, or that particular file. Look into this file permissions very carefully. What you are going to observe, what is the special in it? Can anybody tell me by looking into this? Whether you are noticing anything unusual in this? Yes. No
So
answer?
it says RWS instead of RWX.
Yeah. So that's why I said this is a special permission. Now, you are right. Now look into this. Permissions very carefully. There is one special character called yes here. Till now, we have not discussed about this. We have discussed about read or W for write and X for execution. But here, there is a permission, special permission here. This is called effective user ID or the real user ID. So sometimes now there is one more concept called effective user ID or real user ID. Now look into this yes. This letter yes in the user category of the permission field represents a special mode known as set user ID. This mode lets a process to have the privilege of the owner of the file. Listen carefully. This lets a process to have the privilege of owner of the file during the execution or during the execution instance of the program. When you execute this PASSWD program, any person who is using that particular command or a file PASSWD, any user, he will get permission of owner of this file. Now, who is the owner of this file? Tell me from that LS output. Who is the owner of the file? Anybody? This LS
The
output,
root user.
yeah, root user, because this root is the owner of the file. This is the group, second parameter is the group owner. Okay, so here both are roots. Super user is the owner of the file. So if you as a normal user execute this PASSWD command, you are going to get this permission of this user, root user. This is the specialty of yes bit. Okay, any normal user or anybody who is executing PASSWD command will get, or that process created process will get root permission. What is the special in it? If a normal user executes this command, temporarily he will get the privilege of root. That's why he is able to change the file password. Otherwise, password can be changed by only by the administrator. Now, every user's password is stored in a single point in the Linux operating system, encrypted password, of course. It is shadowing techniques, etc., is used to protect the password. If I change my password will be entered in a file owned by root. How a normal user can modify the password file? That is just because of this yes bit. This yes bit enables that process to have a super user permission in a controlled manner. During the execution of a PASSWD command, that process created process will get root privilege and it will modify the file, password file. Otherwise, only super user is authorized to change the file content, super user files. But a normal user can change, but of course in a limited manner. A normal user, if I log in as a normal user, I can change only my password. That changed password will be entered in the administrator's file. That is the beauty of it. Administrator will not intervene. For a normal user also, temporarily, for a normal user also becomes a root user during the execution of that command, and he modifies only the limited portion of that particular file. Okay. That's what the speciality of SUID. That's why in any computer, you need to be very careful about such permissions. Otherwise, say for example, if a hacker writes a program to delete some sensitive files from your computer, and by mistake, if you set SUID bit equal to 1, that script or file or a program code will get super user privilege. That's very dangerous. Of course, SUID bit can be set to any process or for any file only by the administrator. Normal user cannot activate this bit. Okay, that's what you need to remember. Next, the point is about how to set SUID bit equal to 1. Say for example, let me create one dummy file. So touch, I will use the touch command. Touch, I will use yum. And say I look into the particular permission of this particular file. It is read write for users, etc. Now, in case if you want to, because I am the root now, I logged in as a root user. So what I can do here is that I can say chmod. I can say chmod to the user. That's why I write u plus for grant sticky bit, sorry, this SUID bit equal to 1 for file yum. Now check the content. Now look into this. Now look into this capital S here. As a super user, administrator, I set SUID bit equal to 1 for a file called Of course, now it is empty file, which is a 0. Nothing is there in that. This how you can set user ID for a file as a regular user. Now, if I write some code here in this file, if I write some code, some program, some shell, maybe some shell script also, where if I use some super user privilege and if I say delete some sensitive file, etc. And if normal, and I may copy this file to a separate my own user account, there I will try to execute. Then that file, that program or script in that particular file will get super user privilege during the execution. That may finally end up with the deleting some sensitive files. But still, sometimes it is necessary. We require this. Okay, this kind of features. And okay, I removed that file also because I don't want to clutter my desktop system with unwanted files, particularly with some sensitive settings. So this is about set user ID. See, set user ID already we have seen for PASSWD command. Because of that, any user can execute PASSWD. PASSWD, any user can type and they can change their own password. That new password will be stored in administrator's file. So as a normal user, you are able to modify in a way indirectly administrator's file belonging to administrator, because is set user ID bit equal to 1 for the given file. Okay, this about SUID. Any doubt on this? Anything you want to ask here? Okay. Similarly, one group permission also can be given, SUGID, etc. That is also possible. Now the next command, what we are going to discuss is about sticky bit. Now what is sticky bit? When this is applied to a regular file, when this sticky bit is applied to a regular file, it ensures that text image of a program with the bit set is permanently kept in the swap area. So it can be reloaded quickly when the programs turn to use this use this program again. So say for any file, if you set this is special permission for a file. For any file, if you set a sticky bit equal to 1, say for example your LibreOffice file, it's a very huge program. First time whenever you try to load it, that entire program code will be loaded from the hard disk. It takes a time, takes few seconds to load completely. Okay, sometimes it may take nearly 1 minute also, depends upon the size of the program. That entire big program will be loaded into your computer. After that, it will work normally. Initially, the first time whenever you're going to execute, it takes a lot of time. Then you might have noticed that, okay, after that, immediately if you close MS Office, the LibreOffice in your computer, then if you open it second time before restarting, it will open up quickly. So this is because of the feature called sticky bit. Whenever you set this sticky bit equal to 1 for any file, even after you're closing the program, if the program is terminated, program's object code will be stored in the swap memory of the computer. It's a temporary storage. It will not be removed from the swap. Okay, as image will be retained in the swap memory of the computer. Second time, whenever you load it, whenever you try to load that particular program again, computer need not fetch it from the hard disk. Okay, from the original hard disk, it need not, because already the copy of that code or image is retained in the swap memory. You can make this possible if you want to speed up the operation, if you want to execute, if you want to load a program again and again. Once you start it, then close it again. If you want to start it repeatedly, then it is better to set sticky bit equal to 1 for such programs. Now look into some of the files. Say for example, let me try with the say ls-ld. Now look into this particular file. I entered here ls-ld and temp root/tmp file. Now look into this permission bit here. It is a directory. And also note that there is a special character here, that is a T. This T is the sticky bit equal to 1. Sticky bit is set to 1 for such a file. These are temp files, temporary files. So whenever you load program once, its image will be there in the temporary file. Again, in the second time, if you want to open that program again, you can get it from the temp folder, PMP folder. That is made possible because this folder is set to sticky bit equal to 1. Okay. Now next point is about how to set a sticky bit equal to 1. Now say, let me create one file once again. Now if I say for example chmod, if I want to Now look into what happened. I modified the permission of that file, Now you can notice this particular permission T, sticky bit is set to 1. How to set sticky bit equal to 1? So you observe this command very carefully. What is unusual about it? Anybody?
4 digits.
4 digits are there in the file permission. The first one stands for sticky bit. Sticky bit equal to 1. Then last 3 digits as usual. User, group and others. That's why you can notice that read, write, execute permission is given to user and group. And for others, only read permission is granted and sticky bit is set to 1. Okay, this is what the important point to remember, how to set sticky bit to a particular program. Sticky bit is extremely useful for implementing group projects. Okay, to let a group of users work on a set of files without infringing on security, you will have to do this. Create a common group for those users. Create a new group using shell commands. And create a separate user account for all the users, but specify them same home directory. Okay, you can specify same home directory for all group members. Make sure the home directory and all other subdirectories are not owned by any of the other users. Okay, use the CHOWN, change owner to surrender ownership to the root. Okay, give the ownership to that common folder. Make the directories group writable and set their sticky bit with the 1775. In this scenario, every user of the group has write permission on the directory and can create files and subdirectories, but can only delete those she owns or she or he owns it. It is very useful in a group project. So everybody is working on a single project. Everybody want to look into what other person also did. So create a separate group and separate user account. And for that new group, you specify for every users, for every group members, you mention same home folder. Everybody will have an access to the same home folder. And also that home folder's ownership you give to root. Don't keep it with any group members. So make your common home folder owned by root by using chown command. Then after that, inside that, give the permission of 1775. Okay, group members will get read, write, execute permissions. Users and all group members will get read, write, and execute permission. But with the caveat here, a user can delete the files created by him only. Say you and me are in the team or in the project team. So we are going to work the moment we log in, we will end up with the same home folder, one common home folder. That home folder is owned by root. But we have a permission to read, write, and execute as a group permission because we all belong to the same group called team, project team. So I can create, write, and execute programs. But file deletion is given out of you and me. You can delete your own files, not the one which is created by me. If I contributed one module or a program code, you cannot delete it, but you can view it, you can execute it, but you cannot delete it. But I can delete my own files. Particularly this kind of scenario is useful for any project team. If multiple people are collaborating, then you can try this. Okay, you try this in your computer and see how it works. Create a common group and create users and make them to add to a new group. You have to create a new group for it using by creating a new group. Then do this. Try to implement. Okay, this is about the sticky bits and set user ID bits. What is the use? How to work with that, etc. If you have any doubts, you can raise your doubt. And again, all these things you need to be working in your computer. By reading a textbook, it will not mean anything. It becomes very useless or drying or bore. You may get bored by reading this. So try to execute the commands. Similarly, any user, then how to create user accounts, how to delete a user account. These all comes under user management. How a normal user can create user account, delete user account, etc. So we can also, so let us continue with the discussion here. The term user in Linux is not meant to be only a person. It represents a project or an application as well. Sometimes one service also may be called as a mail user, etc., etc. Wireshark, if you install, Wireshark can be one user ID also will be created. A group of users performing similar function may use the same username to use the system. Okay, it is possible to use the same username. It is thus quite common to have usernames like marketing, accounts, and so forth. So everybody can log in with the accounts. All account group members can log in with the same user ID also. For the creation and maintenance of user accounts, Linux provides different commands. One is called user add, USERADD, user add, and user mod and user del. How to create a user using user add command. How to delete a user, user del command. Say for example, look into this. This command, user add command, as I see, I am executing this command with the super user privilege. User add -m xx. Then I can set the password PASSWD xx. I can set one password to it. See, I set a new password to xx also. Now one user account is created and password is also given to it. Now you can also notice that I entered it with the user add -m. Let me go to my home folder here, CD, sorry, to the home partition. This is a location where all the user accounts will be created. One separate folder will be created for every user. Let me check ls. No. Now you can notice that there is a separate user because these are all user accounts created by me in this computer. Now this is the new user ID I created. XX user. You can change the username also. So now in case if you want to log in to that particular folder, that is also possible. Say for example, I will say switch user XX. I will enter the password which I gave to that. See, now I am here in the user account. If I say pwd, I am still at /home/manmohan because I switched used su command without hyphen. By writing cd, now if I type pwd, I am in /home/xx. Also you can notice echo $shell. It is not bash. By default, it is sh. Okay. In case if you want to have your own shell command, well, for the your own specific shell environment, bash, kshell or C shell, etc. You can do it. Now this is the by default shell program is sh. So this is a new user account created, and any command, so you can do create new data here also. You can log into this user account also. So remember, this -m creates home folder. If you are creating one user account with without -m, user account will be created, but for him there will not be any home folder assigned. Okay, you are not going to assign any home folder for that user. So by writing -m, a new home folder will be created in user's name. That's what you can notice here under home folder. There is an entry called x6. Okay, this is how you can create a new user account for anybody. You can try this in your machine. Then after that, you can log out and log into the new user account also. So create username. It's a very important step. Note down this command as well. It will be very important for you also. Then after that, you set the password. Without setting password, your user account will not be usable. You may not be able to use it. Password space username. Then set the password. A new user account is created with the user and command. Similarly, it is possible for you to delete the user account, user del. Very careful here. When you issue a command, don't give your own user ID or any other users. User del, write xx. Or it is sometimes another command. If user command is not working, then either you have to check with, okay, now I can't because I am within user xx. So I have to exit from here. Sorry. So if you want to delete one user, you have to say user del and username. Then user account is deleted. It's also very important. Now you see, even if you delete your user account, your home folder is not removed. That you can remove it manually also. Or with the user del also you can pass deletion commands to remove the user ID also you can pass the commands. Okay. Similarly, in the same way, you can create as in the previous one assignment about common project team, etc. Then how to use group, new group. For that, you can, in a computer, normally every user by default, the moment you use one user account, one group also will be added to the computer in your name. You will have your own group name. Sometimes if you want to, say for example, if you want to create your own groups, say for example, what I can tell you now, group add, say I can issue one command called group add, a new group, and with one ID, say for example, I may say this group ID projects one group. So group add command. See, one new group is added here with the group add command. Okay, how to create a user? User add and -m and username. Then user deletion is USERDEL and username. Similarly, group add command also. You have to enter group add, create a group with the specific ID. Group ID also you can set. Any unique number you can set to that. Now projects is a group member. Then you can change the group. You can make members to this project team by chgrp command, change group command of any user. Any valid users group membership can be changed to projects. In this way, you can work with that. So in the previous command of creation of a user ad, it can take multiple command options also. If you look into man page of user ad, it will give you complete details about how to use it. What are the different options that can be created, used along with the user ad commands. Okay, user ad, create a new user or update default new user information. Then you will get complete what are the different kind of options. See, the one what I gave here is -m. See, look here. It says create home. Either you can say -m or else you can write -- create -home in detail. Descriptive option also you can write. -m is a short form. Then -- create -home also you can give. In case if you don't want to create any user account or user home folder, then you can write capital -m. Okay. So password, if you want to set along with the command, you can pass -p. You can write -p also. And there are different options. Carefully look into this different commands. Say, for example, if you want to have a specific shell, you have to say -s. And by default, it created, you remember, it created sh. If you want to create, say, bash, default shell environment variable is bash, then you have to say -s space /bin/bash. Then you will get that particular shell command. Okay, that you can experiment on that. It is left to you to do all these experiments in your command. But be careful, don't ever delete or modify your original user ID while doing with this. See, all the discussions, whatever we are doing here, you should be extremely careful when you are performing it in your own system, particularly when you have very important data in that. Now, coming back to now, you know how to add a user, how to delete a user, how to create a group membership. Okay, all these commands are used. Now, say for example, once again, I will demonstrate you, say, user ad. -m, say XX. Once again, I'll as a sorry, the command. So, see, the commands are very sensitive to the space also. If I directly write user ad -m, it will say command not found. User ad, you write, then space -m XX. Now you can notice that user account folder access is also created. And if you log in here, you can also notice that the shell command, because I am able to log in here without password because I am an administrator now. So if you try to find, so echo $shell, it says /bin/sh. Okay, let me go back now. That is the default shell program. I can change some parameters of that user also. Hyphen, yes, say user mode, modifying a user, where I want shell program to be /bin/bash for username XX. Now su XX. Now look into the command prompt it created. Why you are so initially, if you look into this, the moment I log into XX, my command prompt is $, only. And because that is the characteristics of this shell environment /bin/sh. Now what I did, I modified that user XX and I changed its shell -s to /bin/bash. That's why now if I enter echo $shell, you can notice that now the shell program is /bin/bash. This is very important. That's why the way whatever now the command prompt is XX at mantra :/home $. This is the characteristics of bash. Whereas in the previous case, it was the origin by default when you're on variable just says $. Okay, these are the differences you take note. Anyway, the important point is I modified one parameter of existing user with this command, user mod. What are the parameters you can change? And what are the different options for user mode? You just check it with the man command. Man user mode. It will say what are the different options. You can change home folder. You can change expiry date. Actually, this is very important point. Sometimes you can create one, say you are creating a user account and you can create a lifetime for that user. If you create one expiry date, you can set one expiry date also. After that date, user account will be disabled. Sometimes assume that you are running a paid service in your Linux server. Those who are subscribing to your service, you are going to create one separate username and you will mention expiry date. Till that time, people can log in to your server. After that, that user account will be disabled automatically. Okay, that also you can set it. See expiry date. You can find it out. You can say if the password is inactive, what to do? A number of days after the password expires until account is permanently disabled. You can disable one account also. Clearly examine this or read this very carefully in your own time. Find out how to do with that, how to do some useful tasks by using these particular features. Okay, you need to explore this, all these particular features. That's about user mode and user del commands. Okay, this is what I wanted to cover today. In the next class, I am going to discuss about managing disk space. Okay, how to manage disk space, disk usage, and device files, and how to take backups, etc. So that I am going to cover it in the next class. And one more point, from the next class onwards, remember that every student need to switch on their camera in the class. Okay, because I will be asking some questions also. I want to look into your face now. Till now I am looking into alphabets in my screen. Okay, So I want to people to switch on your camera from the next class. Okay. Any clarification or any doubt? Any doubt on this? Mr. Prashast Watts, switch off. Okay, who is that? Switch off your microphone. Or Kunal. And from next class onwards, everybody need to switch on your web camera. Okay, this is a mandatory for everybody. Okay, keep that in mind. And I will stop this discussion for today. Next class, we will come up with once again the remaining portions of essential system administration class. Okay. Thank you all. Now I will stop this class. See you in the next class with the camera on.